We've got one more presentation before lunch, and the idea for this goes back probably 4 or 5 years. One of the campus papers at UW-Madison did a story about the possibility of bringing passenger rail to Madison, and they quoted someone from an organization called the Wisconsin High-Speed Transportation Group. And when I saw this story, it came up in a Google alert or something like that, I thought, I better find out some more about this group. This sounds interesting. And one introduction led to another. And today we have two student leaders from the Wisconsin High-Speed Transportation Group, as well as I think at least a couple or one or two other members of the group here in the audience today. So to introduce our presenters, first, Kyle East is a senior civil engineering undergraduate student and current president of the Wisconsin High-Speed Transportation Group, also known as WiHST, at UW-Madison. Outside of school, Kyle spent 2 weeks in Japan this summer as an intern for the Central Japan Railway Company and completed other internships in construction project management and highway design. He was born and raised in Wisconsin and seeks to help develop passenger rail in our state. Also, Noah Sobczak is a senior civil engineering undergraduate at UW-Madison. He is a previous president of the group and current vice president of the Wisconsin High-Speed Transportation Group. Noah has had 3 internships at 2 different engineering firms where he has gotten exposure to a multitude of rail projects across the country. He also was a Japan Railways intern during COVID-19, but still enjoyed learning about the Shinkansen service. As a Pewaukee native, he's very devoted to improving passenger rail service in the state of Wisconsin. So, guys, please come and tell us about your group and what you're working on and what your, how you see things.
Thank you to Chris, and thank you to WisARP for inviting us and hosting us at this event. So just a quick agenda for today. We're going to explain to you guys what our group does, what our background is, and then what our vision is for intercity high-speed rail, or just regular passenger rail as well, in the state of Wisconsin and the broader Midwest and the country. So we started out as a little ragtag group of people that just were obsessed with steam engines, but a pivotal moment came in 2015 with the announcement of a Hyperloop pod competition that was nationwide, that was for any universities across the country to compete in. And does anyone know what the Hyperloop is? Can you raise your hand if you know what the technology is? Yes, so about half the room. So for those who don't, it's just a vacuum sealed tube that has a car going through it that's supposed to go between 600 to 700 miles per hour on the ground. Long story short, it was realized that that's extremely expensive and just very unsafe and just not feasible. So if you ask me, I think the whole idea kind of undermined intercity rail as an option for improved service, but that's another discussion. So after the competition ended in 2019, some of the groups stayed behind and said, well, what do we do now? You know, this Hyperloop isn't going to work, but we still want to improve the transportation network in our state and in our country. So that's when they formed a WiHST, Wisconsin High-Speed Transportation, which was focused on intercity rail. And we became an ARIMA student chapter since then, and we've been growing in numbers. So like I just mentioned, we are an ARIMA student chapter. ARIMA, they create design specifications and standards for the entire rail industry. Now ARIMA reflects just general industry needs, which is primarily freight rail, but there's also a little bit of passenger rail that's mixed into that. So this picture was at the ARIMA conference, the ARIMA annual conference in Indianapolis this year. It's a huge event for our group. So our student body, our group membership is mostly undergraduate students, but also we have a lot of alumni who joined our group, and they're still active from that Badger Loop feasibility team. Now, mostly we are engineering students in our group, and of those engineering students, civil engineering is the dominant one, but we also have Jacob here, who is mechanical engineering, and some electrical engineering students. And then beyond engineering, we have economics, political science, and marketing that join us as well. Number 1, education and advocacy is really important to us. Students come from around the country, and they have a general curiosity for intercity rail, or just general transportation solutions that are better and more sustainable. So what we do is we take these students and we teach them what intercity rail is. We help show them the historical implications of some of these projects. And we have a lot of discussions. You know, we get a lot of input from our students about what they think is right, what the path forward is. And then after that, that basically gives them the tools to then go and advocate for intercity rail to their colleagues, to their classmates, to their friends. And our influence goes beyond just our members that are in our group. And then second to that, we like to help prepare students for internships or other professional opportunities in the rail industry. So what we do, we mostly do bi-weekly meetings, which consists of usually a presentation about some kind of topic in intercity rail between transit-oriented development, national high-speed rail networks, or a certain corridor project. But we also have a lot of events outside of these meetings, such as field trips or guest presentations. And again, the REMA conference is a huge event for us to not only learn about the industry, but also we do a lot of advocacy there too. We just talk to people about what our vision is. So we also have an amazing partnership with JRC. Like you heard Chris mention, we're both prior interns. Now, JRC, they operate the Shinkansen and they own it, which is the bullet train between Tokyo and Osaka. That corridor is very similar to the Northeast corridor here in terms of population and GDP. And their service is just absolutely some of the best in the world in terms of safety, reliability, and speed. So it's an amazing experience. I went there for 2 weeks this summer. They show you their stations. They show you some of their fundamental design concepts that allow for their system to be so safe, efficient, and reliable. And after that internship, the interns stay together. And we also maintain our connection with JRC, so that way in the future we can go to them and we can keep Wisconsin connected. We keep Wisconsin in the forefront of intercity rail development.
All right, thanks, Kyle. So as the vice president of the group, I've been around since my freshman year with WiHST at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And over these years, every year we have a recruiting event, so we try to grab new freshmen to join our group and join our discussions. And over the last 4 years, it's been extraordinary to watch how this event has changed, and the interest in our group continues to grow. At eBash, which is an event where all the freshmen and students interested attend an event to just sort of see student orgs that exist at UW-Madison. And year after year, we have an increasing number of students that spend the time talking with us at our booth and just learning about what we know as a group with intercity, passenger rail, and high-speed rail in general. Students are fascinated by our connection to JRC, and this last year we had a record number of students sign up for our newsletter, and a record number of students sign up to attend our meetings and continue to attend them as such. So freshman year, thank you. Freshman year, it was truly a small group of people who just wanted to nerd out about trains and high-speed rail and what Japan trains look like. And this year, we've got around 15 continuous members that attend in person and several alumni who attend online. And what they get to do is we get to talk as a group about high-speed rail in the state of Wisconsin. And at eBash, what we like to do is tell students who are interested in the group what high-speed rail looks like in the Midwest. What I love to share with students is that we have the technology in the world where you can take a train from Madison, get lunch in Chicago, and then be back in time for your afternoon classes. That's possible. That sort of technology exists, and we can build it. And that sort of thing is truly impressive. We've got students who are from the Milwaukee area, like myself, the Fox Valley cities, Chicago, Minneapolis, and the international students who almost always fly in and out of O'Hare down in Chicago. These students are looking for better ways to get to and from their home destination. They're looking for how can it be easier to get from Madison down to Chicago to then fly back home to Japan or China. And what these students constantly ask me is, why don't we have rail service? What happened? And we have to go over with them and say, we were pretty darn close at some point. And these students ask, well, is it possible? You know, can we still make it happen? And the answer I love to tell these students is yes. We are working on it. It's amazing that these students find it so interesting that there's a group of students here on campus devoted to making passenger rail happen in the Midwest. And as such, students are fascinated by the JRC maglev program, 400-mile-an-hour floating train in Japan that is currently in test runs. We have some of the best knowledge out of any group in the world on this train with a connection through JRC. Students are fascinated by the growth in technology with high-speed rail in the United States and in Japan. This is just sort of a last slide here to talk about our vision as a group. For some reason, when I was in elementary school, that poster on the top was in just about every single classroom. Something about shoot for the moon, even if you miss, a land amongst the stars. And for some reason, that was in every classroom, but I still think about it often in high-speed rail. And that is, when we're talking as a group, we're not pushing for the bare minimum. We're not pushing for the 79-mile-an-hour train up to Green Bay. We're pushing for true high-speed service between Madison and Milwaukee. We're pushing for top-tier, true, dedicated high-speed rail systems that students would want to use. And that's what gets students talking. Is I tell students we're shooting for the slowest train imaginable, that's great. If it exists, that's perfect. But what we want as a student org is the most impressive modern technology to exist here in the Midwest. And that's what students love to hear, and that's what students love to talk about. So as such, we pride ourselves as a student org group as truly the most knowledgeable group at UW-Madison about high-speed rail and intercity rail, both in the Midwest and worldwide. Thank you so much for getting this opportunity to present here at WisARP, and we look forward to taking any questions you have about our group and our initiatives as a club. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy Carter from Appleton. Something that really hasn't been touched on in a lot of presentations from anybody is the equitability factor option of having trains. The average cost to own a vehicle is between $10,000 and $12,000 per year, and a lot of young people just don't have that kind of expendable income anymore. So that's something I wish I would hear more of, the equity of having a train service.
Yeah, so a lot of students like myself don't have a car. To get home on the weekends to see my parents out in Pewaukee, I take the Badger bus service. Every time I'm taking that bus, I'm thinking about, why couldn't I be on a train? There's a giant median in I-94, why don't we just put a train down it? So what we do as a group is we talk about students want this. It's students who don't have cars, students who realize it's very expensive to own a car. Cost of parking in Madison is something outrageous in and of itself. A lot of people, I talk to younger adults who don't want to use their cars often. They realize car maintenance is outrageously expensive, cars are very expensive, and giving people the option to take the preferred mode of transit is what we're aiming for. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I just want to add, for anyone that has lived in Madison for a while, you can, especially on campus, there are tons of these new scooters that people are using, e-bikes, there's bike parking everywhere, there's electric skateboards. Students and young people are really finding new ways to get around a city on top of using the bus, and they prefer that over trying to drive and commute to work or to school every day. So thank you.
My question is summarized by the T-shirt I am wearing, which says Shinkansen, the Japanese bullet train. My question is, for those of us living in Wisconsin, where we do not have the same population density of Tokyo and Osaka, what can we learn from the Japanese experience that could be translated to here in Wisconsin? Thank you.
Yeah, so great question. Obviously, the bullet train is the most effective where there's a high population densities and big cities. But it's the interconnectedness with multimodality that will take you from the major station to your neighborhood or your smaller city. And that's part of our whole vision, is not only do we want this huge project that's going to be high-speed trains, but there needs to be that interconnectedness with local transit and local commuter lines as well. I mean, commuter lines, like if anyone's used the Metro to get into Chicago, they're really an effective service at avoiding using your car and being stuck in traffic. So.
Mark Quam here with WisARP. One question I had, does your group at UW-Madison work with other campus groups around the country that maybe have sort of the same structure or goals that you guys are working on?
Yeah, so we meet all the other student chapters for ARIMA at the ARIMA conference, and we meet with them. We suggest ways to collaborate. We don't do a lot of activities right now with those groups, but we have their contact, we have their information, especially for groups like UNLV, which is in the Brightline West kind of project area. We do like having that connection for general advocacy, but also for group events and activities to help with educating our students.
And then I'll just add to that, attending the UREMA conference over the years, you see all these student orgs at other universities who are truly just focused on freight rail and how do you make freight rail a more efficient service. This last conference here in 2025, it was kind of amazing that we were the only group for the past few years that would talk about passenger rail and strictly passenger rail services. The last few years at UREMA, or the last year at UREMA, we had a bunch of student groups come up to us and say they're starting to talk about passenger rail. There's growing movement among younger people who like trains in general, but now is truly starting to see the benefits of high-speed rail and passenger rail being more of an option for people to travel to and from places.
I do have one last question to ask, and that is Madison, Wisconsin is bursting at the seams, basically because Verona and the surrounding area are building high schools and building into as a suburb of Madison. My question is, how can we reach out to these communities that are merging with Madison, Wisconsin, north, south, east, and west? They are bursting at the seams and they're coming in close enough that they too could also benefit from this as well too. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening to me.
So that's something I think Kyle can attest to. He's a resident of McFarland. He's seen the Madison community grow quite rapidly over the last few years. Someone from outside of the Madison area, I will say the most effective thing is those communities are working with Madison. Verona and Epic campus as a whole has expressed a ton of interest in passenger rail coming to Madison and servicing not only their employees, but the city as a whole. Dane County itself is very connected. The Dane County Metropolitan Planning Organization is very active in getting this sort of program. The mayor didn't touch on that, but that organization is one that is working with the communities, including Madison, on getting passenger rail to come to Dane County here.
Also, I'd just like to add, with the new HOV lane on the Beltline, we are still seeing a lot of traffic buildups and congestion on that. So that is one kind of bargaining tool and kind of convincing Chip to convince kind of these other suburban neighborhoods that, yes, you know, these people need a better way to get to work, and one way to reduce highway congestion is by collecting some of those intercity passengers on a intercity train. So, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle and Noah.